The mile per hour that you would hit in a Stingray where the engine starts to fall off and you really feel a lack of torque and power, that right there is a completely different sound than the LT2 ever was. So get excited if you have one of these things on order. All I had to do was go down here and click manual. All right guys, so today is the day that I answer every single question you've ever wanted to know about the C8 Grand Sport. So if you don't watch the whole video, you may miss a question that you really wanted to know about. So make sure you watch it and let's get going. All right guys, so the first thing I want to talk about is this new interior, because you guys know I did this video, and I'll put it up here on the screen somewhere, about the 2026 interior, and my overall conclusion was that it is nice. However, it was not something that I thought was a good enough improvement that you should upgrade to it just because it's a new upgrade for the interior. So the more I've driven this car, I now have 754 miles on it, the more I actually really like this layout and really enjoy the different screens. I haven't gotten all the way used to the third screen yet, but I do like that all of this information is over here now and is not cluttering this screen at all. As far as the 2LT leather and the interior that I picked here, I'm really enjoying it. Yes, I do miss the 3LT leather because it's so soft and supple, and it just feels better when you're putting your arm down, you know, on that softer leather. But as far as looks go, there's not a whole lot of difference in the look. It's just the feel that is quite a bit different. And I love the suede on the steering wheel. I love the suede on the seats. So yeah, loving the new interior big time. And to be quite honest with you, this does feel a little bit more modern than what I've been used to with the previous C8s. It just, especially this screen, the track version of the layout here just looks super clean and fresh, and I just love it all. So I kind of killed two birds with one stone in that first part there, because I really wanted to go back to a 2LT from a 3LT and just see how it felt to me and see if I was disappointed in anything. And really my biggest disappointment is what I've already explained, and that is the feel of this Moulin leather versus the Napa leather. So I'm sure many of you would agree that it's really about the little things that you notice. And here are some of the things that I've noticed. Number one, these cup holders that are not hidden anymore do not bother me one little bit. They are just fine the way that they are. In fact, I almost feel like they grip my big cups better than the older ones, and I have no issues with this going anywhere at all. The other little thing that I noticed that's really nice is this charging port. Whether you're charging your phone or not, if you slip your phone underneath this, it's really good. It holds it, and it, you know, holds it right here as well. So there is no issues at all with acceleration and your phone flying out from there ever. I've done it. It does not fly out from there, no matter whether it has a case on it and it's not charging, or the case is off and it's charging. Now here's something else that I noticed, and this was brought up by Corey at Paragon a couple months ago, but the camera system on this car is just not the high definition that it used to be, in my opinion. Even the backup camera does not look as crystal clear and as bright as it used to. So that's another little thing that I noticed that I just don't really appreciate that was changed. I do like the overhead view right here. That is nice, but it's just not super clear, and when you're pulling into a spot, you can really tell. The other thing that I noticed is that I was 100% correct about the front lift and not needing it. I've been to quite a few places now where there were steep driveways or steep, you know, places to get out of a gas station or whatever the case may be. And it is very simple to avoid scraping this car. In fact, I'm going to show you a video clip here of when I was getting the window tint done, and you won't be able to tell probably super clearly how steep the ramp was that I had to go up and down to get into the shop, but it was super steep and my car did not scrape. So as I thought, I do not need front lift. Most people probably don't need front lift, and whether I need it or not, just so you know, I do still love front lift, and I appreciate the fact that GM decided to give it to us finally after many, many years of not having it, when other exotic cars already had that as an option. Okay, now let's discuss what I know most of you came to the video for, and that is for that amazing LS6. So, you know, before I had this car broken in, I could obviously hear a difference in this engine than the LT2. But little did I know that after it was broken in is where I would really be able to tell a huge difference. And that makes sense to me, and it will make sense to everybody else, but you would think that you would hear quite a bit of differences, you know, maybe right off the bat. And I did hear some, but not as many after the car was broken in. But I will tell you this, the number one thing that I noticed right off the get-go, even the first night leaving the dealership, is that this was going to be a torque monster. And the immediate reason why I knew that is because of how much power it had at pretty much no RPM. I mean, right off the bat, you could feel that torque just coming on strong. But what really did it for me was on my drive down to Bastrop area to the Corvette Invasion, anytime that I drove my Stingrays down there, when I would set the cruise at whatever I have it set at, 75, 77, 80, whatever it was, it would stay in 8th gear until we went up a hill. And then as soon as we started going up a hill, usually it would downshift to 7th, but sometimes it would even go to 6th. This car stayed in 8th gear the entire time. Now, once this car was broken in and I did things like that, it told me really quickly that this thing had a lot more torque than the Stingray. You just feel that extra 50 foot-pounds of torque over the Stingray, and it is very noticeable and quite incredible. The other thing that was super noticeable on my trip down there was when I was passing someone, instead of having to downshift to maybe 4th gear from like 8th, I would drop it down to like 6th gear and in manual mode and just give it quite a bit of gas, and I could easily pass people without, you know, any trouble at all. And you could feel that extra torque just pulling you so hard, or pushing you so hard. It was very impressive. Now, the last thing that I noticed about the LS6, and I'm gonna preface this with, I think the reason why I noticed this is because I'm coming from an E-Ray, and with the E-Ray, you don't have this issue at all. But there is a tiny little bit of lag from the moment you press the gas pedal down, you know, all the way to the ground, to the moment that you really feel the crazy acceleration. There is a tiny bit of lag, and I'm just not used to that. I remember it was in the Stingray, but I'm not used to that because the E-Ray has zero lag because of that front motor. You instantly go when you press your foot down in an E-Ray. So that was a little bit disappointing at first until I remembered, oh yeah, the reason why I'm disappointed in this is because I'm used to having a front motor helping out with that lag. So keeping with the LS6 talk, the other things that I've noticed is not only does this car have incredible low RPM torque, but the torque never goes away. And once this car was broken in and I got after it, I'm not going to say the mile per hour that I hit, but let's just say that, and those of you who own a Stingray will know this, the mile per hour that you would hit in a Stingray where the engine starts to fall off and you really feel a lack of torque and power does not happen with this at all. There's no fall off. It pulls stronger and stronger the faster you go. So that tells me this is the reason why this car hit 200 miles an hour, and I believe that it probably hit 200 miles an hour way faster than the Stingray hit 194 because of that endless amount of torque and unbelievable just torque curve that never falls off. And you don't just hear a different sound from your exhaust with this car. You know, if you're behind the car, you hear a completely different sound from inside the cabin. And maybe part of that is because of the fact that I'm used to having a convertible, so I'm not used to the openness back here where you get quite a bit more sound into the cockpit area than you do with the convertible. But that right there is a completely different sound than the LT2 ever was. It sounds deeper, louder, and it just has a more aggressive tone. And by the way, real quickly, it does not change the fact that this car is still going to be a phenomenal daily driver. Oh, and you're probably seeing 14.3 average. On the highway, I was averaging about 22. And we'll just kind of continue with the sounds of this car. It's nice and quiet when you're cruising. Even in the loudest mode, you have no issues with droning or any kind of loud noises. It is very, very quiet. Through the tunnels, if you go underneath, an overpass, it sounds phenomenal. I'm gonna let you guys hear the sound of it right now. And hopefully you can hear this. Now, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to tell a big difference between that right there that I just did and any other V8, just because you're not outside and behind the exhaust. But yeah, I mean, it sounds great. It sounds different. You'll hear in the video that I'm going to put up right now that there are way more snap, crackles, pops, and burbles out of this exhaust and this engine than the LT2, because my buddy Joe Lamb and I did a side-by-side comparison, revving our cars, starting our cars, and it's a perfect comparison. So watch this and check out the differences. So I hope you enjoyed that, but just wrapping all of this up as far as sound goes, this is definitely the more enjoyable car to drive. And I've been saying this for years and years that GM just got the exhaust wrong on Corvettes. I don't understand why my $55,000 1LE Camaro sounded 10 times better than a $100,000 Stingray. It made no sense. They've gotten a lot closer to that Camaro sound with this LS6. So get excited if you have one of these things on order. All right, guys, this is the one that I know you've all been waiting for as well, and that's us discussing AFM, the intrusive V4 mode. And yes, for those of you who believed that this car had it and it was more intrusive than it's ever been before, you are correct. So this is my biggest complaint about this brand new LS6 engine and 2027 Corvette. So it's something that all of you have to look forward to if you've ordered a 2027. But boy, oh boy, is this thing ever intrusive. Not only does it feel worse than it used to, my C7 Z06 was pretty bad. My C8 Stingray was about the same. This is the worst one yet. It kind of sounds like you're going over the rumble strips on the right side of the highway so that it wakes you up if you're weaving over to the shoulder of the road. That's what it sounds like when you're on the highway and V4 mode kicks in, meaning AFM, active fuel management. But if it was just that sound alone, it would be bad enough. However, it also tugs on the car and slows you down a little bit, which is probably the worst thing Chevy could have done. It makes zero sense to me. But don't worry, it gets worse. On top of that, you also have almost no ability to get rid of it. Now, I didn't say you don't have an ability, because there is one way of getting rid of it. Well, let's say two ways. But always before, all I had to do was go down here and click manual, and no more AFM. But that's no longer the case. You have to have this set on either full on track or Z mode. And the Z mode has to have the track version setting of the transmission. If you pull that down one bar to get a little less on the shifts as far as like as fast as they need to be for tracking or not tracking, all of a sudden AFM is reactivated. Needless to say, I'm driving in Z mode 100% of the time now. Now, there is one good benefit of the whole new structure here, and that is when you're in this Z mode, you actually don't have to be in manual mode to get rid of it. You can leave it in drive, and it still will not activate AFM. So there's one silver lining to the rest of the bad news here, but I thought you guys would want to know about that. It is very intrusive and very annoying. All right, so another question that I've been asking myself and wondering this whole entire time is, since this doesn't have the gigantic amount of horsepower that the Z06 has, or anything above the Z06, and it has the same rear tires as the Z06, will it grip really well? And the answer to that question is yes. Had a little bit of spin there, but I think you get the picture. This car definitely gets up and gets after it quickly. With those big 345s on the rear, it does a fantastic job of managing all of that 520 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I haven't done a ton of fast corners in this car, but what I have done has showed me that this car definitely has a really nice level of grip, and I wouldn't expect anything less, even though this has the run flats and they are the all-season tires. It has incredible grip. So as long as you have one of the Z52 performance packages on this car, you'll definitely do well at a track. And you know, the brakes in this car are really, really great. That was a nice little test right there from about, I don't know, I was going probably 45. They are really, really good. Now, here's one that'll probably surprise you, and that is that this is a tour suspension, and it seems to have a little bit rougher ride than even my E-Ray with the Zur package on it. This almost has the same ride as my E-Ray after it was lowered, which meant it had 30% stiffer springs than it did stock. So I am quite surprised that this tour suspension on this Grand Sport rides as rough as it does. Oh, and the transmission feels phenomenal. In the very beginning, I had a couple of weird hiccups with it, but they went away pretty quickly. I think it was just, during the break-in period, you're kind of at awkward speeds and awkward accelerations and things like that. It just was acting a little different, but now that it's all broken in, it's acting just fine. Now, I know this probably sounds silly, but you got to always give a car the walk-away test, and that is how many times you have to turn around and look back as you're walking away from your car, after you park and walk into a restaurant or something. And this car definitely tops all the rest of my Vettes. I definitely turn around and look at this car multiple times. It just never gets old. It's so beautiful, and I love it. I guess I could say my biggest surprise about this car was the torque and how this car just kept accelerating even up in the higher speeds like it was in the lower speeds. I was actually expecting it to fall off just as the Stingray did, and when it didn't, it really surprised me. So I think a lot of you are really going to be pleased with that aspect of this car, because I know all of you were disappointed in that fact with the Stingray. Okay, so this is a big one. Was this worth the money? And that question is super easy to answer. This has got to be the best value Corvette that GM has ever built as far as in the C8 lineup. And Mr. Rick Connie actually predicted this. Look at how much you get for so little. And I'm not saying so little nonchalant that $88,000 is not a lot of money. But when you think of the fact that neighbor Mark paid over $100,000, and I myself paid over $100,000 for a Stingray like 3 years ago, and here we have something that's $104,000 that has the wide body, the big fat tires on it. To me, the prettier stance, the prettier side intake, the wider, fenders, everything about it is just better. Plus the new engine, plus the new side rockers, plus the new wheels, plus the new brakes, which, by the way, these brakes have been great. They do still have dust on them, but they are still breaking in a little bit. So I'm sure once they're fully broken in, that'll go away. But anyway, all of that for $104,000. The black tip exhaust comes standard, MPP comes standard, mag ride comes standard. And with the 2LT, you get everything else. You get the new interior. To me, hands down, it's the best value C8 that they build. And I'm telling you right now, this car feels really special to own. It's not as fast as my E-Ray. No, hands down, it's not. But there's just something about it that I still love just as much as the E-Ray. The only thing I miss on the E-Ray is just the extra power and the grip and go. But this pretty much has the grip and go, and it has a lot of power too. And it feels exotic as well. I think all C8s feel exotic, but the wide bodies especially feel more exotic. And then having the white stripe and the red hash mark over there just gives it a little bit more of that feel. And then also the red sport down there, the red calipers, the black wheels, everything about this just is so amazing. I just love the contrast everywhere. Oh, and not to mention back here, the new LS6 looks phenomenal. So not only does it sound phenomenal, but it looks phenomenal. Even with that black engine cover, it looks great. And check that out. Got the plaque back here to show you exactly what the numbers are. There's your mag ride, and here's your trunk space, which is totally exact same as it's always been. And don't forget about this. Isn't that great? It goes perfectly with this shirt, which, by the way, if you're interested in it, go to my website, thebrinkofspeed.com, and order yours today. All right, well, that's gonna do it. I hope I answered all of your questions as far as whether you should probably order a Grand Sport or not. I can't tell you anything about the GSX, but in a video coming up soon, I'll do a comparison between it and the E-Ray and go over things in more detail for you. That way, anybody on the fence as far as that goes, hopefully that video will help them. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Smash that red subscribe button. As you know, only 30% of you who watch my content are actually subscribed, and it's totally free to subscribe, and it's the best way to help support my channel. But leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this video, and I'll see you guys out on the road.